So people love to pretend that men who talk about dark truths are damaged in some way. They usually have a host of different pejoratives that they say, like we're bitter, we're cynical, negative, unstable, you name it. And they point to us and ask questions like, why do you focus on the worst in life? Why can't you just be positive? As if positivity ever saved a man from reality. They think studying darkness means we're, I guess, obsessed with misery. They think the shadows that we analyze are proof that we're broken in some capacity. But there's a better question, and that would be, if facing darkness makes a man broken, then why is every man who has seen reality up close unable to go back to pretending? Why do the men who have lived real life, who have fought and had great losses and bled and sacrificed, carry a certain heaviness when they speak? Why do they look at the world and no longer fall for the pretty lies? Because the deeper you go into reality, the darker it gets. That's just the dark truth. So, I mean, not because life is only suffering, but because truth doesn't care about your comfort. It doesn't. And once you see the truth clearly, you just can't unsee it. It's an etch-a-sketch that can't be undid, home skillet. So most people live blind in one or two ways. There's naivete or cynicism. And so naivete refuses to see darkness, and cynicism refuses to see anything but darkness. And both are extremes and both are delusions. Wisdom, I would say, lives between them. Wisdom says that life is brutal and beautiful, and that love is sacred, but betrayal exists, and people are capable of greatness or horror. Hope matters, but consequences are coming. Suffering is guaranteed, but strength still counts. And men who are drawn to dark truths, they aren't choosing bitterness. They're choosing accuracy. They're tired of living behind filters and propaganda and safety nets. We don't run from truth, we run towards it. I think that it's more common for people to do the opposite these days. Our society has grown rather soft and complacent and decadent. So I think that's a symptom of that. But yeah, because here's the thing: men don't have the luxury of illusion. A woman can live in fantasy, sure, and still be protected, and children can live in fantasy and still be provided for. But a man in fantasy gets crushed, and there's zero tolerance for a man in fantasy. If he believes lies about money, then he starves, and if he believes in lies about women, he's going to get wrecked. And if he believes in lies about evil, then he becomes a victim. And if he believes in lies about himself, he never becomes anything. Men are not rewarded for being hopeful. They're rewarded for being right. The world doesn't hand out trophies for optimism. It hands out consequences for blindness. So men are drawn to dark truths not because we're broken, but because the world breaks the naive. Better to confront the darkness willingly than to be ambushed by it later. I mean, look around. Men who believed love would save their marriage lose their children. Men who believed the justice system was fair get buried in court every day. Men who believed loyalty was guaranteed get gutted by their own friends. And men who believed, that everything will work out, wake up at 45 with nothing but regret. The world is not kind to blind men. It devours them. So men start paying attention. They watch behavior instead of words. They notice patterns. They study consequences. They ask the questions everyone else avoids. And what they find is that the truth is darker than anyone wants to admit. Not because life is hopeless, but because life is ruthless. And if you don't learn the language of ruthlessness, you will never survive it. Darkness is not evil. Darkness is everything in life that can't be sugarcoated, whether that's death or war or loss, decay, betrayal, hierarchy, competition, consequences. These aren't negative. They're the raw materials of existence. Every empire in history was built on blood. Every moment of peace was purchased by someone else's violence. Every great man carried scars. Darkness isn't the opposite of life, it's the cost of life. Ignoring it leads to delusion. Studying it leads to awareness. And if you've ever listened to a man who has truly faced darkness, combat, the loss of a child, extreme poverty, state corruption, family court warfare, betrayal by someone who they would have died for, you notice something in those individuals that they don't talk like motivational speakers. This man, he doesn't move like politicians promising better days. He speaks slowly. His words feel heavy. He doesn't waste breath. And when he drops truth, it hits deeper than any positive slogan ever could. Because it's not any form of theory, it's carved into him. Men like that don't chase darkness. They've just been close enough to it to know that that's where the real information lies. And they don't reject light. They just don't trust light that hasn't survived the dark. But I would say that society gaslights men who see clearly. If you say that marriage laws destroy men, you're bitter. There's no room for nuance. Or, if you say masculinity is necessary, then that's automatically labeled as toxic. And if you say that evil exists, you're being dramatic, right? If you say comfort is killing us, you're you're insane or whatever. The culture wants men sedated at the end of the day. And because sedated men are compliant, and compliant men are very profitable for the system. And of course, profitable men are disposable. So they push positivity while ignoring the collapse all around them. Divorce courts grind men into dust. Male suicide has hit record highs. I mean, the government's, or technically the Fed, is, they print money until savings evaporates. So there's immense government spending, immense inflation from the Fed, corporations, exploiting men and then firing them. I mean, we're seeing mass layoffs, fathers disappearing from homes. Society just looks at the destruction and just says, why are men so angry? Why are men so angry? Because we're not blind. We see what's happening. We're just tired of being told it isn't real. We're tired of the gaslighting. But dark truths, they don't just expose the world, they expose you. They force you to admit that your comfort is rotting you, and that your weakness is killing you, and that your denial is why your cycle repeats. Dark truths strip away excuses. They rip the mask off your ego and make you face the mirror. And that's why most people avoid them. I'd say it's easier to call someone negative than to face your own reality. Men who are drawn to dark truths they're not fearless, they're just done lying to themselves. They would rather be cut by reality than caressed by illusion. Because one of those hurts you, the other one changes you. Every real transformation in a man's life happens in the dark, and it's never in comfort. There's no applause. It's in the moments where everything falls apart. It's, the gym at 5 a.m. when nobody sees the discipline. The night your mind wages war against itself. The moment you realize nobody is coming to save you. The silence after the betrayal. The collapse of an identity you thought was permanent. That's where men are remade. Darkness isn't the grave, it's the furnace. It either burns you alive or burns away what you're not. Something dies, but what remains is real. I talk about this in my book, Dark Mode Protocol, and I'm going to have the link down below. It's in the video description, so go check that out. But yeah, Carl Jung, he called it the shadow, the parts of yourself that you refuse to acknowledge. Whether that's your anger, your selfishness, your lust, your fear, your hunger for power, your capability for destruction. Society tells men to repress it. But repression doesn't erase anything. It will fester. It leaks sideways, as addiction and weakness and passive aggression, mental collapse. When men avoid their shadow, they become dangerous in all the wrong ways. When men face their shadow, they become dangerous in all of the right ways. They become controlled and stable and grounded and unshakable. Only a man who has made peace with his own darkness can be trusted with power. I mean, Nietzsche said that if you gaze into the abyss gazes back. People think it's a warning. Don't look too long or you'll get corrupted, but that's only half the story. The abyss is where you discover your capacity for violence. Yes, your violence, but also for courage. And for despair, but also for meaning, for destruction, but also for creation. The abyss doesn't just show you what's evil, it shows you what you're made of. Men don't fear the darkness, they fear what it reveals. The strongest men don't avoid the abyss, they descend into it willingly. Not because they enjoy suffering, but because they want truth more than comfort. Dostoevsky and Solzhenitsyn, they didn't learn from books. They learned from prison and war and tyranny. They saw human nature unmasked. They saw saints and monsters inside the same people. They saw how thin the line is between good and evil. And suffering didn't break them. It gave them sight. Comfort blinds, struggle reveals. Men are drawn to dark truths because suffering contains data. Pain carries information that ease never will. It strips away fantasy and it shows you reality and forces you to grow. Meanwhile, modern men are drowning in shallow positivity. We're constantly told, to stay positive and to trust the process and keep your vibes high, right? Meanwhile, marriage is collapsing, birth rates are below replacement levels. Men are offing themselves and dying in wars and filling prisons. And of course, men are dying at work and men are just constantly treated as disposable. And I would say that society has the nerve to ask, why are men so dark? How could we not be? We're the ones bleeding. We're the ones carrying the weight. If you're still smiling blindly, you're not enlightened, you're just sedated. Real hope isn't built on ignoring pain. It comes from walking through it and coming out alive. Men don't trust light that hasn't survived darkness, like I said before. We don't trust joy that hasn't bled. The deepest strength, love, leadership all come from men who went through hell and still chose life anyway. That kind of man has depth. That kind of man cannot be manipulated. Dark truths don't just explain the world. They help us understand why things happen to us, Why our fathers were the way they were, why they felt distant, why they were angry, a whole host of different reasons, why our mothers were overwhelmed or whatever they were feeling at the time, why our relationships fell apart, why betrayal felt inevitable, and why success felt empty, and why the world feels rigged. Dark truths don't make life darker. They reveal the darkness that was already there. Men don't go into the dark to die. They go there to understand. People think men who face dark truths are strong. No, we're not strong. We're just unwilling to live blind. We don't glorify pain. We analyze it. It's more data. We don't chase suffering. We stop running from it. We look at the darkness, the abyss, not because we want to, but because pretending everything is fine breaks us faster than the truth ever could. We don't fear the dark. We fear the lie. There's a lot of toxic positivity going on in this world. I'm not about it. If you refuse to look at the dark truth long enough, the dark truth will eventually look at you. It will find you. Make no mistake, it'll appear in your divorce, addiction, bankruptcy, regret, your kids repeating your mistakes, your life collapsing quietly while you smile for selfies, for Instagram. Darkness is not your enemy. Avoidance is. Avoidance is. And once a man sees reality without the veil, he can't go back. He can't unsee the games or the hypocrisy or the cost of denial. He can't laugh at surface level jokes. He can't care about shallow conversations. He can't force himself to believe myths that no longer work. And because of that, a lot of people will call him jaded or negative or emotionless. They're wrong. He isn't cold. He's clear-headed. He's not empty. He's accurate. He's awake. Men are drawn to dark truths not because we hate life, but because we refuse to live it blindly. And it's not because we're damaged. Of course, everyone gets damaged. You can't go through this life unscathed. But yeah, it's not because we're damaged. It's because we've lived through things that shattered our illusions. We haven't rejected hope, but it's not because we reject hope. It's because we demand that hope survives reality. Dark truths do not destroy a man. They build him. Because only when you see the world as it truly is, in all its pain and its violence and complexity and consequences, do you finally understand who you are and what it really costs to stay alive. We don't go into the dark because we're lost. We go because that's where the truth hides. That's where the masks fall off. That's where life stops pretending. That's where reality lives. And we would rather face reality in darkness than live comfortably in the light of a beautiful lie.